The warranty card arrived with a photograph of my mother's walnut music cabinet sitting in a stranger's living room in Chicago. I was 62 years old, had restored antiques for nearly 4 decades, and knew every burn mark, repaired hinge, and hidden scratch on that cabinet. My wife Elaine had told me it was locked in the upstairs storage room of my shop. My niece Maya had been blamed for trying to sell it. I had taken back her keys and sent her home. Now a man named Andrew Colton was asking me to confirm the 5-year restoration warranty on a piece he said he had bought 6 months earlier. The form carried my shop seal. It also carried my signature. I had not signed it. Elaine stood across the kitchen island watching me read. She smiled too quickly and said, "Maybe Maya did more than we thought." But the photograph showed something she didn't know. To look for the cabinet's lower right door was hanging 1 millimeter high, exactly the way I had left it, after refusing to replace my mother's original hinge. That was when I realized the cabinet was real, the sale was real, and the wrong person had been punished. What I did not yet know was how many other pieces were gone, or how long my wife had been preparing to make me doubt my own memory. I called Andrew from the back porch before Elaine could ask who I was dialing. He answered cautiously. "Mr. Mercer." "Yes, I'm looking at your warranty registration. The auction house said your shop restored the cabinet and the warranty transferred." "Which auction house?" "Hartwell and Crow. Their spring interiors sale." I knew Hartwell and Crow. They were reputable and would not knowingly sell disputed property. Someone had given them a story they believed. "Who was listed as the seller?" I asked. "I don't have the full paperwork in front of me." "Do you have any name at all?" Another pause. "Elaine Mercer." Behind me, the screen door opened. Elaine stepped onto the porch, carrying 2 glasses of iced tea. "Who are you talking to?" I looked at the woman I had slept beside for 11 years. She wore the pale blue sweater I had bought her on our anniversary. She set 1 glass in front of me, then rested her hand on the back of my chair, as if we were an ordinary married couple having an ordinary afternoon. "Insurance," I said. It was the first lie I had ever told her without feeling guilty. I ended the call, promised Andrew I would contact him later, and watched Elaine walk back inside. My first instinct was to confront her. My second was to beg Maya's forgiveness. Neither would protect what remained. So I made a list. At the top I wrote 3 questions. What was gone? Who had legal access? What had I already failed to see? My shop, Mercer Restoration, occupied an old brick firehouse in Cincinnati. I bought it at 31 with help from my father. My mother, June, insisted we save the second-floor windows, because old glass remembers the light differently. She spoke of furniture the same way as memory, with joints and grain. Her family collection included a walnut music cabinet, carved chairs, a sewing table, a hunt board, a document chest, and a double-sided partner desk made for my grandfather's office in 1912. None belonged in a museum. All belonged to us. When my mother died, she left the collection equally to me and my younger sister, Beth. Beth never cared about appraisal values, but she cared deeply about fairness. We had a simple written agreement prepared during the estate settlement. Neither of us would sell or permanently remove a piece without the other's written consent. After Beth died of ovarian cancer 9 years later, her half passed to Maya, her only child. Every January, Maya and I opened the red inventory ledger and checked each piece together. We measured humidity, turned old keys, and wrote condition notes in 2 handwritings, mine leaning forward, hers straight as fence posts. She had Beth's dry humor and my mother's dark eyes. After Beth died, Maya spent Saturdays at the shop, learning upholstery bookkeeping and the patient work of removing varnish without taking history with it. By 27, she could spot a replacement screw from across the room and negotiate with clients better than I could. Elaine used to say she admired that. At least I believe she did. I met Elaine 2 years after my first wife, Caroline, died from a stroke. Caroline and I had built the shop together for 26 years, and after she was gone, every drawer seemed to hold her handwriting. Elaine came in with a damaged chair and left with my phone number. She was warm, social, and attentive. Her son Kyle was 21 and trying to start an event production company. I wanted another chance at family, and that want often overruled my judgment. For years, Elaine and Maya got along. But as Maya took on more responsibility, Elaine began saying she felt she had married into a company where every position was already filled. I heard jealousy and answered with reassurance. I did not hear warning. My flaw was avoiding any conversation that might force me to choose. After losing Caroline suddenly and Beth slowly, I treated peace as if it were the same thing as love. I softened words, delayed decisions, and gave dishonest people room to work. 3 months before the warranty card arrived, Elaine called me upstairs during a busy Tuesday morning. I was fitting a new rail into an 1840s chest. Maya was at the long table entering invoices. Elaine stood beside the open storage room door holding a clipboard. "Daniel, we have a problem." Her voice was formal. Kyle stood behind her in a dark jacket, hands in his pockets. He had been helping us photograph pieces for a new website. "What happened?" I asked. Elaine pointed to an empty space along the wall. "The Sheraton side chair is gone." I looked at the gap. One of my mother's carved chairs should have been there. Maya came up the stairs behind me. "What do you mean, gone?" Elaine handed me a shipping checklist. At the bottom were the initials M.O. "I found this in the office printer," she said. "And there's an email from our shared account asking Hartwell and Crow about a private consignment." Maya took the page. Her face changed before she said anything. "I didn't write this." "Kyle saw you loading something after hours last month," Elaine said. Kyle looked at the floor. "I didn't know what it was. I just saw her by the side door with a moving blanket." Maya turned to him. "That was Mrs. Feldman's bench. Your mother asked me to help because you were late." Elaine's mouth tightened. "The bank deposit from that week is also short." "How short?" I asked. "Just over $7,000. Maya laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "You think I stole a chair and $7,000? I think we need to review the records," Elaine said. Maya looked at me. Not at Elaine. At me. "Uncle Dan." That was the moment I could have stopped it. I could have demanded the original files, carrier receipts, and bank history. I could have remembered Maya co-owned the chair they claimed she stole. Instead, I saw a client waiting downstairs, 3 employees pretending not to listen, and my wife standing with papers in her hand. I chose the appearance of order. "Give me your keys for now," I said. "Just until I sort this out." Maya stared at me. "You believe her?" "I'm saying I need time." "No. You're saying I'm the easiest person to remove from the room." She took the brass shop key from her ring and placed it on the clipboard. Her hand shook once. Then she walked downstairs past the workbenches where she had spent half her life and out the front door. I called Maya that evening. She did not answer. The next day, Elaine said the auction email had been deleted and warned that involving outsiders might expose Maya to charges. The word charges frightened me exactly as she intended. I waited. Maya finally sent one message. "I did not take anything. Please do not contact me until you are ready to believe that." I kept it and did nothing brave with it. During those 3 months, Elaine took over more of the office. She said my hands were too busy and my sleep was poor. She suggested I had forgotten authorizing a small sale the previous year. Once in front of Kyle, she laughed and said, "We need to start putting sticky notes on Daniel." I laughed too. That memory came back while I sat on the porch with Andrew Colton's warranty form. The next morning, I reached the shop before Elaine and unlocked the upstairs storage room. The music cabinet was gone. So were a carved chair, the sewing table, and the document chest. The hunt board had been pushed sideways to hide another empty section. 5 pieces, maybe more. I opened the red inventory ledger. January's pages were still there, signed by Maya and me. Each missing piece had been present 8 months earlier. Tucked inside the back cover was a newer sheet in Elaine's handwriting labeled, "Items moved for photography." It listed only 2 pieces, not 5. I photographed every page with my phone, then carried the ledger downstairs and locked it in the finishing room safe. At 8:30, Elaine came in wearing sunglasses even though the morning was overcast. "You're early," she said. "Couldn't sleep." She placed her purse on the office chair and looked toward the stairs. "Did you go up there?" I kept my voice flat. I needed a clamp. There aren't clamps upstairs. "There's an old set in the linen cabinet." She watched me for a second too long, then smiled. "Of course, that small exchange told me something important. An innocent person would have asked what I was working on." Elaine asked whether I had seen the room. At lunch, I drove to Maya's apartment. She lived in a brick building above a bakery. I stood outside with the red ledger under my arm and pressed the buzzer twice. When she opened the door, she did not invite me in. "I found the music cabinet," I said. Her face remained hard. "Where?" "Chicago." She blinked. "I also found 4 other spaces upstairs." The hardness broke not into relief, but anger. "And now you believe me." "I should have believed you before. That is not the same sentence." "No." I looked down at the ledger. "It isn't." For several seconds, the bakery vent below us blew warm sugar into the hallway. Then Maya stepped back and opened the door wider. Her apartment was small and neat, with her tool roll fabric swatches and a framed photograph of Beth on the table. I set the ledger beside it. "Tell me everything you noticed before Elaine accused you." Maya crossed her arms. "Will you listen this time?" "Yes." She sat down but did not offer me a chair. "Last summer, your wife asked me how much the family pieces were insured for. I told her I didn't know the current total because we had not updated the appraisals. Then Kyle started photographing everything. He said it was for the website, but he took pictures of the backs labels and underside marks. Not the angles clients care about. Why didn't you tell me?" "I did. You said he was finally taking interest in the business." I remembered the conversation. I also remembered changing the subject because Elaine had been standing beside me. Maya had also found packing foam upstairs and an unfamiliar carrier pickup that vanished from the dashboard after she questioned it. "Could Elaine delete it?" I asked. "She had administrator access." "So did you." I didn't. That was the first clean break in Elaine's story. Maya never had permission to remove shipping records. "What about the missing deposit?" I asked. Maya's jaw tightened. "There was no missing deposit when I left on Friday. I prepared it, sealed the bag, and put it in the safe. Elaine said she would take it to the bank Saturday morning." "Do you have proof?" I scanned the deposit summary because the printer jammed. The file should be in the old backup folder unless she deleted that too. Maya opened her laptop and signed into a personal cloud account. She showed me an automatic backup from the shop scanner. The deposit summary listed every payment and matched the sales ledger. At the bottom was a note bag released to Mercer, 4:18 p.m. Elaine had signed for it. "Why would she create a shortage?" I asked, though I already knew part of the answer. "To make you doubt me before you noticed the furniture." I sat down without being invited. Maya looked toward the photograph of her mother. "I could have fought harder," she said. "But when you took my key, I knew the facts weren't the only problem." "What was?" "You needed Elaine's version to be true, because the other version would mean your marriage was in danger. That truth insulted me and freed me at once." I told Maya about the warranty card and Hartwell and Crow. Then I showed her the storage room photographs. "We have to protect what's left," she said immediately. "Not punish Elaine. Not expose Kyle. Protect what was left." That was Beth speaking through her. The partner desk remained upstairs. Its value to me had nothing to do with auction estimates. My grandfather and father had both worked at it, and I had hidden beneath it as a child. Elaine knew that story and knew the desk required both my consent and Maya's. "We need to move it," Maya said. "If we move it without explanation, she'll know I found out. She may already know. I need to know what she intends to do next." Maya studied me. "That sounds like the old you. The one who waits for certainty until somebody else gets hurt." She was right, but not completely. "I am not waiting to act," I said. "I'm waiting to show my hand." That was my first consequential decision. I would not confront Elaine until the remaining collection was safe and the evidence no longer depended on anything she could erase. Maya agreed on one condition: no more protecting me by leaving me out. I said yes. That afternoon, I called Lillian Cho, a retired museum registrar I had known for 20 years. Lily was careful with records because she believed memory needed witnesses. I told her what I could prove. "One cabinet has surfaced at auction," I said. 4 other pieces are missing. My wife appears on the seller paperwork. The collection is co-owned by my niece. Lily did not gasp or ask what Elaine was thinking. "Do you have the estate inventory?" she asked. "Yes." "Condition photographs?" "Yes." "Marks that are not visible in public images?" "For every piece." "Good. Do not accuse anyone in writing yet. Ask the auction house for its title claim procedure. Use the word claim, not theft. And move the remaining pieces to neutral storage with both owners signing the intake." She did not solve the problem. She gave me the order of operations. The next morning, Maya and I met before dawn to move the remaining collection. 2 trusted employees helped with the partner desk. Elaine arrived while it was halfway through the loading door and got out before turning off her engine. "What are you doing?" I stood beside the desk with a moving pad over one corner. "Updating storage." "Without telling me, you're not an owner of these pieces." Her face changed, only for a second. Then she laughed. "Daniel, this is ridiculous! Where is it going?" "To a climate-controlled facility." "Which one?" "One you don't need access to." Maya came through the side door carrying the red ledger. Elaine looked at her, then at me. "So that's what this is." She came back and filled your head with another story. "No," I said. "A warranty card did that." Elaine went still. I watched her calculate. Denial, anger, tears, attack. I could almost see the choices move across her face. Finally, she chose concern. "You've been exhausted for months. I think we should go home and talk before you make a decision you can't undo." "I've already made one." I held out my hand. "I need your office key and your shop access card." Omar stopped tightening a strap. Ben looked at the floor. Elaine's eyes filled, but no tears fell. "You are humiliating me in front of employees. I'm removing access during an ownership dispute. Your own wife?" "My wife is the name on a sale I did not authorize." She stepped closer and lowered her voice. "You told me we could thin things out. You said the business needed cash. You forget conversations, Daniel. You know you do." There it was. Her strongest defense delivered before I had even accused her publicly. I had authorized the sales and forgotten. For a moment I felt the old reflex to explain, to reassure, to make the scene smaller. Then Maya placed the red ledger on the desk between us. I remembered what I had done to her. "Give me the key," I said. Elaine removed it from her ring so hard it cut her finger. She placed it in my palm and whispered, "Kyle will not forgive this." "That is not my largest concern." She left without another word. Moving the desk protected the collection. It also forced Elaine to move faster. By noon, she had called 3 times. At 2, Kyle arrived at the shop, demanding to know where the desk had gone. He was 32, broad-shouldered, handsome, in the polished way that made people assume confidence was competence. His event company had survived on optimism, family loans, and last-minute rescues. I had loaned him money twice. The first time he paid half back. The second time he stopped mentioning it. "You can't just lock Mom out," he said. I did. She ran that office for years. She had access. That is under review, because Maya told you a story. Because a buyer registered a warranty on my mother's cabinet. Kyle's eyes shifted toward the upstairs door. It was a small movement, but it told me he knew exactly which cabinet I meant. He recovered quickly. Maybe you approved it. Mom says you did. Did you transport it? No. Did you photograph it? For the website. Did you create a seller account with Hartwell and Crow? No. He answered too fast. I took a folded sheet from my pocket. It was not evidence. It was a list of items missing from the storage room. I placed it on the workbench between us. Read the list. He glanced down and stopped at the document chest. What I asked? Nothing. You reacted to that piece. I didn't. He pushed the paper back and said, "You're making a mistake. Then the review will clear both of you." That was not what he wanted. Innocent people welcome examination. People protecting a story try to stop it. Kyle left, and 20 minutes later, my bank sent an alert that someone had tried to transfer $48,000 from our home equity line into a business account I did not recognize. Elaine had online access, but the bank required a secondary confirmation for transfers over $25,000. I declined it and called the fraud department. They froze the line pending review. That was the second layer. The furniture sales were not a single desperate decision. Elaine was still trying to take more after she knew I was looking. I changed passwords on accounts I controlled, removed Elaine from shop accounts, notified our bookkeeper, and asked the bank to preserve access logs. I did not empty joint accounts or hide money. Then I drove home. Elaine was packing a suitcase in our bedroom. "You froze our money," she said. I stopped an unrecognized transfer. It was for Kyle's company. We discussed it. "No, we didn't. You said we would help him through the venue lawsuit." I said I would look at the documents. I never saw them. She threw a blouse into the suitcase. "You always need paperwork. Life is not a museum label, Daniel." "No. But $48,000 needs a conversation." She turned on me. "Do you know what it is like to live in a house where a dead woman is still in every drawer? Caroline's recipe cards. Caroline's desk. Caroline's clients. Then Beth dies and suddenly Maya becomes the daughter you never had. Where exactly was I supposed to fit? I had heard versions of that pain before, but never with so much resentment exposed. "You fit beside me," I said. "Not in place of everyone who came before you." "That is easy for you to say. You were never second." "What did you sell?" She zipped the suitcase. "I sold what you told me I could sell." "Did you take the deposit Maya prepared?" Her face hardened. This is what she wanted. She wanted you to choose her. I am asking what you did. And I am telling you that your memory is not as perfect as you think. She lifted the suitcase and walked past me. At the bedroom door, she stopped. "You'll be sorry when you understand how much trouble that shop is really in." Then she left. I looked at the empty space on her side of the closet and understood that the furniture might not be the deepest betrayal. The next week became a lesson in how ordinary records can tell an extraordinary truth. Hartwell and Crow had a formal process for ownership claims. I submitted the estate inventory, the co-ownership agreement, January condition photographs, and the private restoration marks for each missing piece. Maya signed the claim with me. Lily reviewed our packet for clarity, then told me to remove half the adjectives. "Facts do not need to sound angry," she said. The auction house paused all pending payments connected to Elaine's seller account and assigned a compliance officer named Rachel Voss. She did not give me confidential buyer information, but she could confirm which pieces had passed through their sales and what documentation the seller had provided. The answer was worse than I expected. 7 family pieces had been consigned over 18 months. 5 had sold, 1 had been returned, and the partner desk was listed for Hartwell and Crow's anniversary auction in 3 weeks. Its pickup was scheduled for Monday. Rachel sent me the seller declarations Elaine had signed. On each form, she claimed she had full authority to sell. On two, she described me as unable to manage the collection due to declining health. On the newest intake, she had attached a letter bearing my typed name and a scanned signature authorizing her to act for me. The signature was mine, but not from that letter. I recognized the uneven final stroke. It had been copied from a restoration estimate I signed for a church in 2021. Still, Elaine's defense was plausible enough to cause damage. Spouses manage property, verbal agreements happen, and memory fails. I needed evidence of intent. Maya remembered that Caroline had configured the shop email to preserve deleted messages after an old client dispute. The archive was not hidden, only old and read-only. Our IT contractor restored my access. Inside were messages Elaine thought she had erased. The first was from Hartwell and Crow, 18 months earlier, thanking her for photographs of the sewing table. The second asked whether the co-owner named in an old appraisal would consent. Elaine replied, "My husband inherited everything after his sister passed. The niece has no ownership interest." That sentence was deliberate. She knew Maya's interest existed because she had witnessed us sign the annual inventory 3 months earlier. Another message asked why my name did not appear on the seller account. Elaine wrote, "Daniel is becoming forgetful and gets distressed by financial discussions. I handle these matters for him." Then there was an email from Kyle. "Mom, list the smaller pieces first. If he notices, say Maya moved them for restoration photos. By the time the desk goes, we'll have the condo closed and the line paid down." I read it twice. "What condo?" I asked. Maya's face had gone pale. "I don't know." The third layer was no longer about Kyle's business debts. Elaine had been building an exit. Public records showed a condominium purchased by an LLC registered to Kyle. Its down payment matched 2 auction payouts, and our joint account had paid its monthly fees. Bank statements also showed nearly 2 years of smaller transfers to Kyle's company, totaling more than $90,000 before the furniture. Our accountant found invoices from Kyle's company for services no employee remembered receiving, all approved, just below the amount requiring my signature. The furniture funded the condo. The false invoices kept Kyle's company alive. The missing deposit removed Maya, the one person who understood both inventory and books. The letter about my health prepared anyone who questioned Elaine's authority to doubt me instead. That part struck deeper than the money. I thought of every joke about sticky notes, every time she had corrected me in front of a client, every conversation she later claimed we had already had. Some of those moments may have been ordinary marriage. Some were not. I made an appointment with my doctor. Not because Elaine was right, but because I needed facts about myself, too. After an examination and routine screening, my doctor told me I showed no sign of cognitive impairment. I was tired, grieving, and under stress. He offered to document only what he had legitimately evaluated. I accepted. I felt embarrassed by my relief, then angry that relief had been necessary. Maya met me at the shop that evening. I showed her the email about the condo. She read it standing beside the old pencil sharpener. "I thought she just wanted me gone," she said. "She did. No. I thought I was the goal. You were an obstacle." Maya closed the laptop. "What happens now?" That was the question Elaine had always counted on me avoiding. I did not avoid it. "First, I correct what I did to you. Tomorrow, in front of the staff." Maya looked uncomfortable. "You do not have to make a ceremony." "Yes, I do. I took your key in front of them." The next morning, I gathered our 6 employees near the long work table. I suspended Maya based on information that was false, I said. The records show she did not remove property or cause the missing deposit. I failed to verify the facts before taking her key. That was my decision, and it was wrong. I handed Maya a new brass key and an administrator access card. I have asked her to return as operations manager and co-custodian of the family collection. Our upholsterer Tessa crossed the room and hugged Maya without asking. Maya accepted the key, but not the title immediately. "I'll come back for 30 days, she said. "Then we decide together whether this place can change." That was fair. Forgiveness without changed conditions is just a new way to repeat the old injury. My second consequential decision was to stop treating the shop as an extension of my personal guilt. I created clear roles, dual approval for inventory movement, and outside bookkeeping review. Not because family could not be trusted, but because trust deserved structure. Elaine remained active during all of this. She accused Maya of manipulating me, told relatives I was having a breakdown, and had Kyle warn employees the shop might close. One client asked whether I was retiring for health reasons. I answered, each rumor the same way I am working. My health is private and ownership records are under formal review. Then Elaine made her final greedy move. 4 days before Hartwell and Crow's anniversary auction, she emailed Rachel Voss and claimed the partner desk had been stolen from her possession by Maya and me. She demanded the auction house pursue the consignment contract and threatened to sue for lost commission. She also attached a new statement from Kyle saying he had personally heard me authorize the sale at our kitchen table. That was intelligent. If she could transform the dispute into a confused family argument, the auction house might step back and let us fight privately. She did not need to prove her story immediately. She only needed to muddy mine. Rachel scheduled a seller conference at Hartwell and Crow the morning before the auction preview. Elaine believed the meeting was to negotiate release of the desk and restore her seller account. She asked that Kyle attend as a witness. I agreed. By then, the auction house had located more than forms and emails. Their intake calls were routinely recorded with a notice at the beginning. On the first call, Elaine told a specialist that she was helping her husband quietly reduce a collection he no longer tracks. When asked about the niece listed on an estate appraisal, Elaine said Maya had signed away her share years earlier. On another call, Kyle laughed and said Daniel knows wood, not numbers. Once the pieces leave the building, he won't know which year they went. That sentence ended any argument that the sales were innocent misunderstandings. It also gave me the shape of the reckoning. I wanted the facts placed in a room where Elaine could no longer rearrange them. Before the conference, I made my third consequential decision. I filed for legal separation and asked through counsel for temporary financial boundaries. I did not wait to see whether Elaine apologized. I had spent too much of my life confusing remorse with the possibility of remorse. I also asked the auction house to invite Andrew Colton by video, not to shame him, but because he was an innocent buyer whose property was now disputed. He deserved to hear what was happening. Lily attended as an independent provenance expert. Maya attended as co-owner. The conference room at Hartwell and Crow was on the second floor above the auction gallery. It had a long oak table, 8 gray chairs, and a glass wall looking down at rows of furniture prepared for preview. When Maya and I arrived, the partner desk was not on the gallery floor. That absence was the first thing Elaine noticed. She entered 10 minutes later with Kyle and an attorney. She wore a cream suit and carried the same leather folder she had held the day she accused Maya. Kyle looked past me toward the glass wall. "Where's the desk?" he asked. Rachel Voss stood at the head of the table. "The lot has been withdrawn pending title determination." Elaine did not sit. "You told me this meeting was to resolve the hold." "It is." Rachel gestured to the chairs. "Please." Elaine saw Lily next. Her face tightened. "What is she doing here?" Ms. Cho reviewed the provenance materials submitted by both co-owners, Rachel said. Then Andrew Colton's face appeared on the wall monitor. Elaine's hand closed around her folder. I watched recognition move through her. Buyer, registrar, niece, compliance officer. The room contained every person her story had kept separate. Her attorney asked whether the meeting was being recorded. Rachel explained the auction house's process and obtained agreement before continuing. The first document placed on the table was my mother's estate inventory. The second was Beth's probate distribution, showing Maya inherited Beth's half interest. The third was our annual inventory signed by Maya and me 8 months before the first sale. Elaine leaned back and said Daniel told me Beth's share had been resolved privately. Maya did not react. She had learned something from me, and I had learned something from her. Silence can make a lie carry its own weight. Rachel placed Elaine's first seller declaration beside the inventory. You represented that you held full authority, she said. My husband authorized me. Verbally, yes, and the written authorization. He asked me to prepare it because his hands were bad that week. My hands were scarred, stiff in cold weather, and still capable of cutting a veneer patch thin enough to see light through. Lily opened the red ledger to the page for the music cabinet. Beneath my condition notes was a line dated 2 months after the supposed authorization. Do not replace original lower hinge. No sale or deaccession. Recheck next January. It was signed by both Maya and me. Elaine glanced at it and said, That does not prove he didn't change his mind. It was her strongest defense, and she held it carefully. Spouses make decisions informally. Old men forget. Families fail to document every conversation. Rachel nodded. That is why we reviewed the intake calls. Kyle shifted in his chair. Rachel pressed a button. Elaine's voice came through the wall speaker, bright and confident. My husband does not track the collection anymore. The niece signed away her share, and we would prefer not to upset him with details. Rachel stopped the recording. Elaine's attorney looked at her. She said I was simplifying. Rachel played the second clip. Kyle's laugh came first. Daniel knows wood, not numbers. Once the pieces leave the building, he won't know which year they went. On the monitor, Andrew Colton lowered his eyes. Maya's hands remained folded on the table, but I could see the pulse in her wrist. Kyle leaned forward. That was a joke taken out of context. What context makes it accurate, I asked. He looked at me for the first time. You said the collection was a burden. I said storage was expensive. You said we should help Mom make decisions. I said she could help organize appraisals. Elaine turned toward me, abandoning the careful tone. You wanted me to fix everything, Daniel. The shop was bleeding money. Kyle was drowning. You sat at that desk every night staring at old invoices and dead people's handwriting. I did what you were too weak to do. There it was, at last, not denial, but entitlement. You sold property you did not own, Maya said. Elaine looked at her. You had half of dusty furniture you never paid for. My mother died, Maya said. That was the price. No one moved. Elaine opened her folder and removed the letter bearing my scanned signature. He authorized me. Rachel placed a restoration estimate beside it. The same signature, including a tiny ink skip where the church's old printer had dragged across the page. The source document was located in your deleted email archive, she said. It was forwarded from the shop account to Mr. Benton 2 days before the authorization letter was created. Kyle's attorney whispered to him. Elaine's face lost color. Earlier clues gained their meaning one by one. Kyle's photographs of labels and underside marks. The deleted shipping pickups. The missing deposit. The jokes about my memory. The condo funded by sale precedes the final attempt to pull money from the credit line. Rachel explained the auction house's decision in plain language. The partner desk would not be sold. Elaine's seller account was terminated. Remaining proceeds under their control would stay frozen while ownership and restitution were resolved. Prior buyers would be contacted with options through the auction house's title process. The matter would be referred to their insurer and appropriate authorities for review. No one was arrested, and no gavel fell. Real consequences rarely arrive with music, but the power Elaine thought she controlled disappeared in minutes. She could no longer sell the desk. She could no longer claim the buyers did not know. She could no longer use my memory as a fog around her choices, and she could no longer keep Maya and me on opposite sides of the same lie. Elaine looked at me with tears finally on her face. After everything I did for you, you brought strangers into our marriage. I thought of the afternoon I took Maya's key. The months I let fear make decisions for me. The pieces of my mother's life wrapped in blankets and carried out through a side door. Then I said the line I had come there to say. You made the truth travel. I only brought it home. Elaine stared at me. Her attorney asked for a recess. The meeting ended without shouting. Kyle left first. He did not look at Maya. Elaine remained in her chair until everyone else had stood. When she finally rose, she placed the leather folder on the table and walked out without it. Through the glass wall, workers moved between chairs and lamps below, preparing an auction that would go on without our family desk. The months that followed were slower and more important. The auction house unwound 3 sales through its title coverage. Andrew and 2 other buyers returned pieces after being reimbursed. One family wanted to keep a chair, and after mediation, Maya and I sold our interest at a fair value. Justice did not require pretending nothing had happened. The condominium was sold in a negotiated settlement with proceeds going toward restitution. Other recovery came through insurance and a civil agreement. Kyle closed his company. I stopped building my peace around outcomes I could not control. Elaine and I divorced the following year. She never gave me the apology I once imagined I needed. In mediation, she said she had felt invisible and afraid of being left with nothing. I believed she had felt those things. I also believed she had chosen deception again and again when honest choices were available. Understanding a motive is not the same as excusing it. Maya returned to the shop permanently after her 30-day trial, but on new terms. She became operations director, and I stopped making every final decision alone. We hired an outside bookkeeper. Inventory movements required 2 approvals. Family objects were separated from business property in both records and storage. The first difficult conversation we had after her return was about my retirement. You cannot stay forever because you are afraid the place will disappear without you, she said. I'm not afraid. You labeled 3 shelves temporary in 1998. She had me there. We made a 5-year transition plan. Not a surrender, a plan. I apologized through changed behavior, not repeated words. When employees questioned a purchase or deadline, I listened. When Maya disagreed with me, I did not call it disloyalty. I learned that conflict can be evidence of trust. People who feel safe with you will tell you when you are wrong. The music cabinet came back on a bright afternoon in early spring. The carrier set it in the engine bay while Maya and I removed the blankets. There it was, my mother's walnut. The faint water ring on top, the stubborn lower hinge hanging 1 millimeter high. Maya ran her finger near the edge but did not touch the finish. Are you going to fix that door now? She asked. No, it still bothers you. It reminds me I am not supposed to correct everything just because I can. She smiled. That sounds suspiciously healthy. We carried the cabinet upstairs together and returned it to its place beside the window with the old glass my mother had saved. Then we opened the red ledger. On a new line, Maya wrote, returned after disputed sale. Conditions stable. She handed me the pencil. For a second, I looked at the 2 blank signature spaces. The old version of me would have signed first. The old version of me believed age, ownership, and love all meant I should lead even when I had not earned it. I passed the pencil back to her. "You first," I said. Maya signed in her straight, narrow handwriting. I signed beneath her. Then we closed the ledger, turned the cabinet key, and went downstairs to open the shop. The furniture had come home, but that was not the real restoration. The real restoration was learning that peace built on silence is only another kind of damage. If this story meant something to you, subscribe and tell me in the comments. What would you have done the day that warranty card arrived?